What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Praise Podcast. My name is Eric Lade, and of course, the Brooke Paninsky is along with us today. We have got an exciting episode today. We have got a special guest with us, but before we reveal the special guest, in order to find out, you've got to hit the like and follow button on your podcast means. However you listen to this podcast, we want you to hit that like and follow button because, why, Brooke? Why do we want them to do that, you ask? Because that automatically updates them every time we drop a new Praise podcast. What else should they do, Brooke, you ask? They should also leave a rating and review.
A nice one, preferably.
Preferably a nice one because, whatever. If you want to be a jerk, be a jerk. That's fine. But if you don't, 5 stars is what we're looking for. We love that, one, because we want to hear from you, too. That helps this podcast get seen and noticed by more people. And the goal of this podcast is to get the message of bringing the praise and Jesus out. So in order to do that, we would gladly love to partner with you. We need our Praise Podcast family and community to share these episodes and to like and follow. So, of course, we love you all. We thank you all for listening all the time. It's always good to hear from you. When you email in, you can do that at eric@centralnow.com or brooke@centralnow.com. We would love to hear any feedback you have, any questions you might have, or just any thoughts or comments you have on our episodes. If this is your first time listening to the Praise Podcast, welcome. We could not be more excited to welcome you to the Praise Podcast family. This is basically a pretty laid-back podcast where Brooke and I just pretty much record typical conversations that we would have anyways, whether no one was listening or not.
I literally don't think they believe you when you say typical conversations, but seriously, typical conversations.
Yes, it's literally, we just are like, we'll even stop. We'll sometimes stop and just say, nope, that's a podcast. Just wait. Let's go. Let's just go record this conversation. So sometimes that's about Fresca. Sometimes that's about Brooke's
being a Mennonite.
Yeah. Sometimes that's Brooke's Mennonite lifestyle. Other times,
so mean.
It is just about whatever. Most of the time, it's about worship and Jesus. So again, if this is your first time listening, you ought to just pause this episode, go back, listen to all the other episodes, get caught up, and then we would love to have you join us. Or you can just listen to this one and catch up on your own time. But like I said at the beginning, we have got a special guest with us here today, and that special guest is, drumroll please, Brooke. Wow, that was way more intense than I thought it'd be. The Chris Donoho.
Woo!
Hey, what's up, Chris? Donnie's in the house, so we're really excited to have Chris here because Chris is our first guest that is like not technically on either our CA staff or pretty much technically not on our CA staff. So, but Chris is
on our CA team.
He is on our CA team. He is a volunteer that has served for a long time. In Central's worship ministry, and he served in many other worship ministries and stuff leading into that. And we'll probably get into some of that here in a little bit, but he has a long history. Fun fact, Chris and I were in a band together.
We were.
It was we have literally traveled the world together.
So I just had a memory pop up on my Facebook today. I don't know if you saw it, but I shared it about one of our first times out.
Yeah.
It was back in 2010.
2010, yeah.
So it's been that long ago. That was our
first. It was like Rolla,
yeah.
Right? Rolla, Missouri.
Yeah.
Was the inaugural go.
Yeah.
It was a wild time.
It was a wild time. It got wilder.
It really did. Yeah. It really did, but that was fun. So I'm sure we'll probably talk a little bit about that as well. But we are really excited because Chris is here, and he's going to do one of our My Story episodes, which we love on those, where we get to kind of dive into just the backstory and just kind of get to know some of the people that, if you attend Central, then you have seen Chris many times leading or playing on our stage. And if you don't attend Central, then you should know that Chris spends a lot of time leading and playing on our stage. But so we're excited to talk to him and have him. But Donnie, since you're here, we are going to have you join in. Now he tells us he's a faithful listener of the Praise Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's kind of like fanboying out here. He's in the studio, you know.
The grin on his face
yeah,
right now.
So excited.
It's almost like I feel like I'm a celebrity to Donnie. And I've known him like almost my whole life.
Yeah.
And he's like all of a sudden like, wow, I'm on Brooke and Eric's podcast.
Yeah. But
that's exactly how I feel. I'm so excited. When you text me earlier today about it, I fangirled.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh, I love that.
So he knows that we do this, but
Yeah.
every episode we've been doing this thing called Song Spotlight, where we basically just kind of highlight a song that we have been listening to or has been on repeat a lot for us as we've been listening. So Brooke, I'm going to let you start this off, and then we won't make Chris go first. We'll let ladies go first.
Thank you.
And then we'll go to that. But Brooke, what is your song today?
I feel like it won't surprise you when I say this, but the song that I have been listening to a lot is Honey in the Rock.
Honey in the Rock.
Was that what you were going to pick?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. But I also feel like you knew I was going to say that.
Maybe.
A little surprise. Okay, so that Brooke's album 7 came out a while back, and she had a few, Back at Passion was the first time she did it in January this year. And you and I were the sorry suckers stuck at home.
I know.
It was horrible, but we got to watch online, which was great. But that was a song that she, I think, first did there at Passion. And it was so good. And it's like when you hear a song and you're like, what is this even about? And you're like, but this is about to be good,
Well, it's got Brandon Lake too, right?
Yeah, and Brooke is phenomenal. And so, I just thought
You're not talking third person.
Well, no, definitely not. But anyways, she just did such a good job. I really enjoy her. And actually, she was doing some of those creator lessons. So back last summer, we signed up for these creator lessons online, which essentially is like for like worship leaders and whatever. And like Tasha Cobbs does a few classes, Brandon Lake does a few classes, and Brooke did a few classes. And so I just really enjoyed that. And it was through that I was like, I had a whole different vision of her and her heart and for ministry and worship leading. And I thought, okay, I could get on board with all of this. So anyways, that song is awesome. The depth of that song, when you really dig in and you're like, oh, I get it. Like, I get what you're talking about. I get what this is from. Like, you really like the weight of it, that originally the first time you hear it, you just don't. Some people at least, you just really don't. But when you dive in and you dig in, it's like, oh, there's so much here. So just, I guess, with my personal, season that I'm in, and like I talked a few episodes back about just the whole like wasteland to wilderness thing. And that message keeps coming up for me in this season of my life. And this song is so special. Lyrically, of course, I always say that, but truly, biblically, like where that's founded and where that all goes, it's just it's good. It's golden. So, that'd be the song I'm listening to right now.
Would you call it gold like honey?
Yeah, a golden honey.
Yeah. No, Brooke is, you too, but Brooke Brooke is just, I don't know, I have gained through some of like videos I've watched of her or just hearing her talk and share as a worship leader. She just gets it.
Yes.
And like she is just,
and she's so humble.
Yeah. I mean, she comes from, like the Hillsong worship world. And I've always kind of appreciated, not anything against like the united part of Hillsong, but like, they are kind of the ones that get a lot of the notoriety and, do a lot of the tours, where like Brooke is the one that usually, I mean, she's kind of got her own thing, but like her and like Hillsong worship are just sitting back there writing like, worship bangers. And so
I knew you were about to say bangers. I just could feel it coming.
All right. Well, that's a good choice.
What about you?
Good choice. Mine, we'll let Donnie go first, and then I'll go to mine.
Are you sure?
I don't want to accidentally.
So
take
you're
his.
like,
he's
save
our
the
guest.
best for last.
No, he's our guest, and
I don't want to overstep my welcome right out of the gate.
So,
Donnie,
what's your song that you've been listening to a bunch recently?
Okay, so
let me get my playlist out.
No, let me just preface this with, I'm the oldest person in the room.
Correct.
And so
the wisest.
No, definitely not. Ask my wife; she will tell you otherwise. But my style of music, like, I'm not a fan of the worship music.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more of a Matthew West, Sidewalk Prophets, Aaron Schuss,
Okay.
those kind of. That's my jam. Like Sidewalk Prophets is some of my absolute favorite songs. I feel like every album has bangers on it.
Right. So. Yeah. Look at you. You fit right in already.
Yeah. So I mean, that's where my connection is. There's a song you may or may not heard called "Living Hope" that that I really enjoy.
Yes.
But that Jimmy Needham, that's another one that I just I just love that music, and that's a little more. I don't know if we call it dated necessarily, but there's definitely been a shift in not just our church, but I think churches in general and people's listening and things like that, moving from that style of it's still worship music. I've still got worship music, but to the new style of the live worship type of music, you know. So it's just different. And then, of course, I always go back to the Gaithers. I mean, Gaither vocal band. I can listen. I feel kind of odd at the gym when I'm pumping iron. I'm listening to the Gaither vocal band. One of the girls in there calls me the whistler because I'm always whistling music while I'm working out. I don't even realize it, but that's kind of where my roots are. But we'll talk about more of that later.
I appreciate Donnie because, like, he maybe don't listen in this room, but then, like, he'll go into our traditional service where he is half the age of the majority of people in there, and like he sang in the quartet for Easter.
So good.
And it's just cool because that's not a skill set of mine, and it never will be. But like it's cool to see somebody that like you that has like the ability, but like the passion for that, and then and to do it so well.
Yeah, I don't want to say. I don't want to imply that I don't like the music we do here at Central by saying that, because that's not the case at all. I love all forms of music, and especially music that glorifies the Lord. That to me is where my heart is. So in any way, shape, or form, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah. And speaking of Living Hope, like you crush it.
Well, thank you.
I mean, and of course, you did at Easter.
That arrangement was really good. That
was cool.
It was really good. It
worked
out.
So
Good job,
powerful.
boss. That's
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate, for whatever reason, I hate just doing songs as they are. I'm like, let's just take all the good parts of all these songs and let's just skip right to them. Why waste time on the verse? You know, like let's just get to the good stuff.
He's notorious for doing that.
So all the time,
get to the meat.
See, there'll be songs on Planning Center, and I'm like, okay, Eric, I get that all these are on here, but like, how are you doing in any of these? You know, because I'll go through and make the keynote and do each song top to bottom, but then like you go and give it to Eric, and he's like, oh, actually, we're gonna just come in at minute mark 3 on this one, and then we're gonna, and I'm just like, okay, so now I'm just smart, and I'm like, hey, what do you want me to do?
The band spends like hours learning, and then we're like, we're just doing the first half of the verse and then chorus.
Yeah, you just need to know that. You're just going to need to know that last chorus. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they love me all the time. But
Eric, what about you?
So
what about your
choice?
song?
My choice. This is a little bit of an older school song for me. Now it's not that old, but it is an older song compared to what I have typically been listening to or sharing. But I'm a big Sean Curran guy.
Of course you are.
I love him. Lyrically, I think there's nobody better.
Can I guess what you're about to say?
Yes, I think you can.
Heaven?
Yes, that's it.
It's so good.
So it's a song.
It's so good.
It's an early song by Sean. It's called Heaven. It is probably most famously known for, they did it at Passion. I believe it was 2018.
I say 18 or 19.
Yeah. And so, but gosh, it's just a good song.
It's so
and
good.
All of his lyrics are. If you've never listened to Sean Curran, I would encourage you to do it, because like lyrically, he is just he's a wordsmith. Like he's just so good, and I mean, like he fits words into, and just I don't know. He just tells, like, it's so picture filled. Like I can just like imagine what he's saying and singing, and I don't know. So but heaven is that right now. I'm trying to think what is the word that he fit into a song one time, and I was just like, that's just not even possible, and he did it. It's in a different. What is? Oh,
yes,
I'm gonna blank on it here.
yes.
It's
We'll come back to it because I know I'm.
Yeah. I'm gonna forget it, and I don't want to spend a ton of time.
Well, I'm gonna find it, and then we'll come back to it.
I'm gonna add that
I know
song
exactly
to my
what
playlist
you're talking about.
because I enjoy listening to your podcast. You guys always talk about this, so I get to hear new music that way.
Yeah, it's he's good. You would probably like him because he's a little less. he's not so repeaty like some of them get. Like, you know, I mean, he has stuff like that, but he just words wise, he's so good. Yeah. So, all right, Brooke, I believe you've got some of so in the past when we've done these, what's your story? We kind of lead in, we give you some warm up questions before we really dive into just the nitty gritty. And Brooke, I believe you've got those, right?
I do.
So you wanna throw?
This is like my favorite part.
I know you kind of take this part over because you're just the question asker. So
I love asking people questions. Okay, so Donnie, as you know, because you are a seasoned listener to Praise Podcast.
Hold on 1 second. I just remembered the word. It's negotiations.
Negotiations. Yes.
Plural?
No,
yeah,
yes.
I stop all negotiations
to the God of all creations. That's it. It's like no one would have made that fit or rhyme but Sean.
Who could make... Yeah, anyway,
Jason Isbell is a wordsmith like that.
It is so good. I'm so glad you thought about that because I was literally Googling it, and then you were like, hey, ask any of these questions. So I put my phone down. So thank you for that. I can now actually concentrate. So, okay, Donnie, number 1. What is something that most people don't know about you?
Okay. So, I don't know. I'm pretty well an open book. If you know me, you know a lot about me because my wife will tell you I don't do well keeping my mouth shut. I talk way too much, so this may be long-winded. But I think one of the things that people probably don't know, which is kind of a fun fact, if you will.
Yeah. Eric and I like fun. So.
Yeah. I passed out once on Channel 3 Live singing. I was singing on Channel 3, and this was back in our high school days. We used to always go to Channel 3 and record, and I had a bad habit of passing out back in those days. I've passed out a lot in my life.
For what? Like nervous?
No, not nervous. Locking knees, lack of airflow, and so like... I can give you the step-by-step process of how you know when you're about to pass out because I've done it so many times. I can see the signs. But anyway, we were down there singing Christmas carols, and I was on the top. We had two risers in the floor.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I went down hard.
Oh, no. Which riser were you on?
I was on the top.
The top
riser. Yeah, I went down hard. And, crushed the girl underneath me.
Gosh.
The poor girl was minding her own business singing. Oh. And
so you heard yours and her like TV debut.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever say sorry?
Oh, I did. Okay. Yeah. She was Jewish, and she did not want to be there singing Christmas carols.
Sure.
And the last thing to add to that is some big fat guy falling on her and crushing her to the floor.
No.
So, yeah, that was my Channel 3 debut as well.
Wow, that is a fun fact. And literally probably no one knows that about you. Except the Jewish girl.
And my parents.
And your parents.
They saw it.
They were so proud. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's move on. Okay. No.
If that girl's out there, I want to hear from her.
Please.
If you're still alive.
Yeah. If you survived it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need to hear your side of the story.
I don't think she lives around here anymore. I've not talked to her in years.
She probably moved away shortly after
that. She was actually
that.
older than me. I think she's in my brother's class. She's like 2 years older than me. And, I think she got as far away from me as she could.
Oh, no.
There's actually a restraining order against you that you don't know about.
Oh, my gosh. The poor girl. Yeah. Okay, Donnie, number 2.
Okay.
What is your favorite and your least favorite song to lead? Like, so when, like, you pull up Planning Center when you are about to come to a Wednesday rehearsal and you see what Eric's picked, and then what makes you, like, just, like, so glad he's your pastor? And then, like, what makes you so, like, upset that he's your pastor with poor music taste? I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, you can be. We want to offend people.
What's your?
Is this where the criticism?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
He does listen.
Oh, he does. But yeah. So, what's your favorite and your least favorite song to lead?
So, ironically, we are leading one of them this weekend, Alabaster Heart.
Is that your favorite or least favorite?
Favorite.
Oh, yeah.
One of.
It is so good.
Yeah, it's so good. Lyrically, it's moving. Mm-hmm. It has a little bit of repeaty, but it's good repeaty,
Yeah.
But it's one of those songs that makes you super vulnerable,
Yeah.
And that's when I listen to music, I like to be moved by a song, and that song just has such powerful words, and we've all found ourselves in that position.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that bridge,
Yeah.
Every time we've done it, that's always, like, the tipping point, I feel like, of the Spirit in the room. Like, I mean, when we get there, it's just done for. Like, it is just so good. It's so powerful. And, and JC's actually leading it this week. Yeah. And she does a beautiful job. She does so good. I mean, Lee usually leads that song. I mean, a handful of people have because we've done it a handful of times, but it is so good. Yeah. Well, what about your least favorite song? Are we also doing that this weekend?
No, I don't have a particular song that's my least. At least not that I can pull off my head. I'll let you know when we do it again. I'll be sure and point it out. This is it. This is it, guys. This is the one. But ironically, I said earlier that the modern day worship songs I have a problem connecting with, and what it is sometimes is just the repeatingness of the song, which I know my wife is going to tell me that you just said that you like the repeatingness of that song, which is true, but it's okay, honey. I can have feelings. Yeah.
I can change my mind.
I can change my mind. But I don't know. I feel like I 100% understand how in a worship atmosphere, repeating a line over and over again can bring a connection. A friend of ours, Jeremy Redmond, once said that the purpose of having worship music at the beginning of a service is to call the Holy Spirit into a place so that he can be there with us. And when we sing, that calls the Spirit down, and he joins us where we are. And that's always touched me. I remember that statement from years ago because I truly believe that. And these songs, in a worship sense, a worship atmosphere, do that. They pull people in, they pull the Holy Spirit in, they bring that connection. But for me, outside of the worship experience, it's monotonous. So when these songs repeat the same line 27 times, it's like, let's move on. Let's close this out and move on. Yeah, land the plane.
That's almost how I felt when we did Maranatha for...
That's what it was. I was going to say Macarena, but I didn't think that was
I know,
right.
Maranatha. I mean, great song for one, and it's one of your Sean songs that you like. But we did it for like a prayer night or something one time. Yeah. And like there was like a chorus or... there was a part of it that we were just like, we thought like, oh, it's over. And then we kept going. It's like, oh, it ain't over yet.
In the keynote, they just kept putting us on. You're like, good night. Surely we're about there. Yeah, surely we're there. Yeah, I remember even after we did that, we were like,
you were like, cut it.
That's a lot. I was like, that was a lot.
And for us to be like, oh, it's too long or that's a lot is a lot because we're always like, give us more time. Like, don't rush the Holy Spirit. Like, that's all. We're here for the moment. But,
but to be honest, too, in those situations, like, the Spirit moves you sometimes to want to keep singing a song.
Yeah.
Sometimes it ends it's like, dadgummit, let's go back and do it some more.
Yeah, but and I agree because sometimes it's the case, and then sometimes though I think there's not to get way off topic here, but there is I think we've maybe talked about this a little bit, but there's a tough, or what's the word here? I don't want to dangerous feels that's over exaggeratory, but I'm not thinking the word I want to, but like with worship leaders and songs even right now that it's like you aren't connected to the Spirit if A, your song isn't 8 or 9 minutes, and B, if you're not like just repeating or, and I'll put in quotes like, just writing new things. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like some of the stuff you knew what you were doing before. You know what I mean? It's like there's a line.
Checklist.
There's a line there. Like you don't need to force it either.
Right.
Like be willing to go if you need to go. Right. But like if it's not happening, it's not happening.
This is literally this is literally a conversation we had months ago. Like it was only like my first few months on the job, and you and I don't even know who else was involved in the conversation. I want to say it was Caden actually, but you, me, and Caden were talking about this, and you were all like, songs don't need to be long. I mean, they can be, but like, don't force it, Yeah. And then I was all like, I was like, but like, if they are, like, there's nothing wrong with that or whatever. And like that got like the discussion of just like, I think I said something along the lines of, why are songs long? I'm like, well, because when you enter in the presence, it's like hard to then leave. So of course, like when you're doing live stuff like that, you're just like, you do feel they keep going or whatever. And you're like, oh yeah, I mean, like you're right, but like everybody's doing it, like how you get, but I mean, not that you don't get it or agree, but it was just funny, but like, that's true. Like there really is a boundary. Like, okay, hey, if this wasn't like, whether it be the intention of writing it or like the environment you're leading it in or whatever. Like if it needs to like end it. Great. You know, be obedient to the Spirit for the, you know, situation in the room. Yeah. But then it's also like, but like if someone goes like we did at Recharge, we talked about for a half an hour longer than we were supposed to. Yeah. I mean, then let it go, because not a single one of us were ready to come out, you know, the Spirit in that moment. Like truly, I think just that, like don't overcomplicate it and don't force it. Just let Holy Spirit do what he does. I
think there's an unfair pressure right now.
Yes,
on a lot
that
of
we have to do it if we're not whatever.
That if you're
that's just in a lie from the enemy.
But I'm saying like, you know, if you're in the Spirit, then you're gonna constantly be carrying on and keep going and have and that absolutely is a thing. Right. But there's also, I think, a pressure on a lot of people to do that, and that's just as unhealthy, because now you're forcing things or you're doing things that aren't real.
Yeah, because then you're like,
that's where I struggle, because I'm all for the connection and all for the heavy duty worship, if you want to call it that. And I can see that happening within the atmosphere of a worship event, whether it's church or whether it's Recharge or whatever it may be. Where I struggle is like driving down the road, you know, casually listening stuff and then repeating the same thing 15 times, you know, and then that's where I struggle, just in casual listening. I totally feel it when I'm in the church. You know, I can't tell you how many times I sat out there in the pew with just tears rolling down my face because of the connection. But outside of that, I think that's why I connect more with these other songs. More to my hypocrisy of my own, I'm a huge Tool fan. Like, Tool is my number one band. And they don't write a song that's less than 13 minutes long. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's so funny.
But
well, they do a lot of stuff, though, too.
Yeah, it's pretty active song.
It's pretty active. All right.
But, like, what a good topic.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. And speaking of things that I want you to share, I'm super curious about this with you, Donnie, just because of your personality. And, like, I mean, really just that, your personality. What are you on the Enneagram? Do you know?
I've looked this up before, but I forget. And I hear you call out numbers a lot, and I'm like...
We're using the Nashville number system
here. Well, yeah. Well, I'm curious to know this about you. But, okay, so with that being said,
I want to guess I'm an 8. Or a 9, maybe?
No way you're a 9.
Okay, I don't know what it means. I'm just, I'm in that range of the number
Eric
scale.
Eric is dying over here. He's like, finally, another man in the room to agree with me.
I think it's an 8. I did take the test, and I felt like it fit me to a T.
If you keep going, she's going to set you straight. That's what I'm just saying.
Please do. I'm very curious about it.
No, I mean, so a 9 is I think essentially it's like a peacemaker or peacekeeper or whatever kind of way.
And you're saying I'm definitely not a peacekeeper.
You ain't that, Donnie. Yeah, no.
So I'm an antagonist, is what you're saying.
Yes, and Melanie will call me, and she'll email in, and she'll be like, "You're right on the money."
Yeah, I'm sure she will.
So, anyways, no, I feel like if I had to guess, you're probably, yes, if you think you're an 8, I can agree with that, but you probably wing to a 7, like us. Because when I say this, and why I want to ask you this question, because I want to know the answer, is because I feel like you are a dreamer, and like you're very creative, and like all these things. And so when I ask you this question,
wait,
what?
Explain what an 8 is.
An 8
briefly,
is an 8
concisely.
is the. And you said briefly to me. That's so funny. No, an 8 is a challenger. So basically, like Eric and I are 7-wing 8s, which I question about that with Eric. But so essentially, like 8 is a challenger, which I mean, I guess in a short, it's just like you're bold and you can have confrontation and you'll defend things and, you know, whatever. Like it's just kind of like in the grit of it and just don't even look back kind of thing. But a 7, you have like this freeness in your spirit of just like, yeah, let's have fun. And like, oh yeah, let's, you know, dream and be creative and like, let's try new things and let's change it up and let's whatever.
I would say that fits me pretty well.
I know, right? Yeah. I know. Yes, it does. Okay. But anyways,
we're going to have a, Idiogram podcast
I need to stop. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So this is a question that I'm really curious of your answer. Okay. So question number 3, what's one goal, dream, or thing you want to accomplish or experience in your life? So one goal, dream, or thing you want to accomplish or experience.
I mean, I've checked a lot of things off my list,
well,
honestly.
Awesome.
A lot of the things that I did with Eric and John checked a whole lot of boxes. My dream has always been to be a musician, you know. Yeah. Full disclosure, my original dream was to be a marine biologist, but I hate the ocean, so I changed over to musician.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So there's so many ways to die in an ocean, honestly.
It really
Too
is
many
a dangerous
big
place.
things are in the
It really is a dangerous place.
Dangerous place.
Oh, man. We just don't know enough about it.
Yeah. But I would say in my elder years, I've kind of gotten to a point in my life where my goal right now is to be happy where I'm at, happy where God has put me. Like, I'm trying not to be, I don't want to say overly motivated, but I don't want to be chasing after things that I don't need, chasing after things that aren't important. You know, the things that are important to me are my family, my friends, my church, and I am happy to be right where I'm at.
Like a contentment.
Contentment, absolutely. And I will be honest, if I chase anything, it's contentment, if that makes sense. It seems like a oxymoron. But a good friend of ours comes over to the house, James Mount. Shout out to James Mount. He'll come over and we're outside cooking on the hibachi grill, you know, just enjoying the weather and cooking some whatever. And he said, "This is the life, you know, hang out with your friends on the porch cooking hibachi." And that's what brings me happiness, brings me joy. You know, the music stuff I'm now living vicariously through my son. Because he's down in Nashville doing amazing
he's in Tennessee
things.
right now. Yeah,
he's actually got 2 live things he's playing at tonight, writers' rounds. So proud of him and the things he's doing. And you know, just I guess contentment would be a goal.
That's awesome.
So what was the other one?
Well, that's it. Just a goal, dream, or thing you want to experience or accomplish. So if you want to accomplish the sense of contentment,
I feel like
that goal.
You know, going back to the time I spent with Eric and John and Randy, and I'll even say Chammy. But,
poor Chammy.
Poor Chammy. No, not poor Chammy. Anyway, the time we spent together and the things we got to experience and the fun that we had, you know, it was just amazing and something I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
Well, and in context, and I know you will talk about this later, but for people who don't know and who weren't at Central at this time, will you kind of explain what you mean by that?
Sure. So 2010-ish. We found out John Henninger decided that he wanted to do some live worship on the road, traveling, leading worship at some churches around the area, and he pulled in some amazing musicians. Tyler Knox is one of them, Randy Poston, the incomparable Eric Lyday, and put this group of people together, and we started local and did some amazing things. You know, we played with some amazing bands. Jeremy Camp and who all? Sidewalk Prophets. We played with them.
Big Daddy Weave. Matthew West. A couple times, which
I went to when
I'm
you
surprised that he comes to this church.
I don't think he knows.
I don't think he remembers.
I remember. I think now that you say that, I'm pretty sure I went with Phoebe and Trevor to the Big Daddy Weave. That was you guys did a show pretty close by, and a long time ago, of course. But you opened for him, yeah. I went there, yeah.
And that was that kind of stuff. So we took 2 trips down to Brazil. You know, got to go down there,
which we talked about a little bit on Eric's episode.
Yeah, right
off out of the gate. So
You know, one of the things that I thought about when you mentioned doing this, it reminded me of the time that we were on a radio station in Brazil. Good Morning Goiânia. And there's a lot to that story too. But anyway, just that experience.
You guys are hearing Eric's genuine laugh.
Yeah,
that's his genuine laugh.
So many great memories.
There really are. So
many great memories. Yeah. The time they held the plane on the tarmac down in Brazil because our host was trying to get our bags checked for free, and so everybody boarded the plane except us.
Yeah.
So we were like, Marlon, we need to go. Yeah. And they actually stopped the plane and pulled a ladder out on the tarmac so we could climb in. And
oh my gosh!
Stupid Americans holding up the plane for everybody.
Yeah, they loved us in Brazil until that moment. Everybody on the plane was like, "Who are these stupid white people that are getting on this plane? I would like to leave."
Right.
That's so funny.
So many good memories.
But that is awesome. I mean, truly, and it's something that I know that even now, I still have the John Henninger logo T-shirt. Hayden both do. You know, but that was the time.
I have a whole shrine in my house. You should come over and see it.
The fact you still have it. Okay, so I mean, with that being said, and I think that is a huge part of your chunk in your story with your worship experience, but kind of. Let's just dive into it. And so Chris Donoho.
Yes.
What's your story?
So my story, it's interesting to use the word chunky because that fits me very well. Both my life and myself. So, I think my story in the beginning. Now, I've always been in a music family, and I know Eli said the same thing. His story was very interesting to me because in a lot of ways we're very similar.
Were you homeschooled too?
I was not homeschooled. I wish that I was.
I'm just kidding.
My grade school years were awesome. I ran that school. I was the king of the hill.
Did you grow up around here?
Yes, I went to Updike Bell grade school.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And we used to host. I was a DJ, and so we would set up. We'd set up parties at a small building by the ball field called the Rueton Building. We would rent it, and we'd have lock-ins, and we'd play music all night, and we'd dance, and MC Hammer days. I had the hammer pants. I had,
of course you did.
Yeah, I had a fake earring on my ear.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was the man in grade school. High school changed everything, and high school, those 4 years were absolutely horrible.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely horrible. So I would not want to go back to those times in my life at all. But the few things I enjoyed there was being in choir. I really enjoyed. Mr. Gibbs was a huge part of my music that I do today. So he taught me so much. But my family's always been musical. My great grandpa. My mom will correct me, but the thing is, my great grandpa they'd set up a stage out on Liberty Road, and they'd invite all these people over on Sundays, and they would just play music all day long, and people would come by, and they'd join them, and they'd come up there and sing, and just do that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. My grandma, she used to play on the radio on KMOX. Her and her sister had a show, and they'd play guitar and sing songs on the radio.
I forget that the radio used to be like that.
Yeah, it was a real
that's
thing.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's like old school podcasting.
Wow, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, but I have the guitar that she played, and I have a picture of her and her sister that's hanging on my wall. And my grandparents were in a gospel group. My parents were in a group called Shades of Calvary. They sang gospel music all over the place. Traveled and did that at a very young age. And I actually got to hear a radio broadcast of them singing songs, one of the first records that they pressed. They used to press records back then.
Oh, my gosh.
So, so that's kind of where my history comes from. I grew up in going to Lebanon Baptist Church, and as cousins, I had a bunch of cousins, and my brother, there was 8 of us all together, and we would get together and sing, and they would scream harmonies in our faces. If you got off your part, you got lashings. Yeah. So we would do that, and then, just kind of led there and did that whole experience. And when it came to Central, I remember coming up here. We started coming whenever we were in the old building, my wife and I. And
what year was that?
That's remember? A very specific question to ask a man. We don't pay
around
attention
how
to
many
details
years ago was
Well,
that?
Bailey was a baby. And
so if it had been the old building, it would have had to have been early 2000s probably?
Yeah, so I would say this was, 19 years ago, 18 years ago. Wow. So, but once we came over to the new building, and when John got here, I really wanted to be a part of the music here because it was so powerful and so fun and so big and so much talent.
So you were here when Drew was leading.
Yes.
See, and that's a time, that's like before my time, but I'm just like, I just want to be best friends with Drew because you just hear so many great things about him,
I've actually had the absolute pleasure of leading with him this year at an event or two, and he's so amazing.
And I've heard, literally, you just hear so many good things about when he was leading worship here. Yeah. And truly, then, you can't help but to be so appreciative and respect that because you're just like, that's what I followed. you paved the way, Yeah. And so it's just so cool. But that's before my time because when I started coming to Central in high school, like John, I only ever knew John as worship, pastor or whatever. Right. So, but that's so cool.
And I know Drew had a big influence on John too. John, another incredible musician in his own right when he came here. He was good to go, but he learned a lot from Drew. And but when I started John put me on guitar duty. I was his guitar tech when I started. So I was back there tuning his guitar and make sure it was ready to go and getting his coffee and washing his feet and doing his laundry.
Eric, thank you for not making me your guitar tech. I really appreciate that.
You would have told me no.
Oh, that is also true.
Yeah.
I would never make anyone wash my feet.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And John's probably, if he listens, he's probably like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
And you'd be like appalled that you would assume that he would make you do that.
Yeah. But he and I got really close in that, you really rely on your guitar tech because they...
Besties for the resties.
I tell you what, without a good guitar tech, you are going to play notes that are so sour. So sour. I mean, you're expecting a G and you're going to play an A flat minor. That's just not going to work. Not going to work. So we established a relationship then, and I don't know, just got to be a part of the team and saying, I tell you, the thing I've loved most about my time on the praise team is how much I've grown in position because of so much talent that is involved in this ministry, and both vocally, instrumentally, just teaching people how to lead in worship. There's not a single person on this team that I would not say is 100% a worship leader. Mm-hmm. No what capacity that they're in, whether they're playing guitar, they're playing cello. Kate plays that cello. She plays horns. She plays keys. There's so much talent on that stage that I feel like we learn from each other, and it forces you to grow. You don't want to be... You want to learn from the people, somebody that's better than you. So there's just so much of that opportunity there. And so I've grown a lot as a musician, but more importantly, I've grown a lot as a worship leader and what that means and what that responsibility is.
Yeah.
So, and kudos to both of you. I'll just go ahead and put this out there, but both of you came into this position with your hearts in exactly the right place. And the praise acronym that you put together, I mean, it just nails it. Absolutely nails it. I think that really sums up what central worship is.
Right.
That our focus is, we want to do our best in everything we do, and the people that are a part of this team, whether it's Steve or Caden or Aaron Fadler, who's an absolute artist, they put forth the best they have because they want to give their best for the Lord.
Yeah.
And so it's an honor to be a part of that.
Thank you, Donnie.
Yeah.
That was really sweet.
So, what the future holds for me here is I just want to keep doing what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I want to keep moving forward. I keep having these opportunities. The Kid Depot thing is taking off.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. So Kid Depot is in a really sweet season right now with how the Lord is working in our kids. And not only that, but that trickles down from their covering, which are their teachers, and so, you have Phoebe and Amra and Reagan and Ashton and Erica, and, just an incredible team of people. And they, for a while now, have had just a hunger for just some fresh wind in their worship for their kids. And this was before we were here in the roles that we have, Eric. And so, with what was available and the schedules, it just wasn't something that really could work or it wasn't time yet, but you knew the hearts were, their hearts were in the right place. They were prayerful. They were hungry for it, whatever. And so anyways, we are now at a season where I feel like the Lord has given us, opportunity, and he's given us permission, and he's given us people and the go ahead to really pour into our kids in this way.
Yeah.
And so, with what you're talking about with Kid Depot and this whole new season for them, of teaching the children and exposing them, really to just live worship and giving them the ability to sing and to lead and to, play along and all of that. Right. It's a game changer to really raise them up in a culture of of understanding worship and giving them opportunity to lead.
Yeah.
And so again, which I will let you dive into your role with that, but truly your role in that has been an answer to prayer and the work that the Lord has done in your heart and your life to lead you to that point where you also are I have permission, I have the go ahead, and the contentment that you feel in positions to pour into, like you said, your church, because it's important to you. it's just like, it's really cool to see how the Lord's faithfulness and through your obedience, like this is able to kind of take place. So why don't you like talk more about that to the listeners or for the listeners?
Sure. When I volunteered over at Kid Depot, it was something that was a stretch for me. I don't do well with kids.
Because at first you were leading as like a small, or volunteering as like a small group leader.
As a leader, yeah, right. As an adult leader over there. And
so not doing anything
no
with music.
No music. And so I was just, every other month you go over there and you're just kind of teaching the lessons to the kids and helping with things like that. And they would have music, but it was tracks, we'd sing along with. So,
right.
The kids got to experience some music. But I had talked to Ashton about it from the beginning, that's something that, obviously, that's what I love to do. So if that opportunity came up, I would love to be a part of it. And then Eric came to me at one time and said, hey, we really want to try to make this happen. And I said, I'm 1,000% on board. And it's for so many reasons it's important to have music in that age group because, for one, most importantly, these kids are hungry.
Oh,
you saw that at Recharge. They're hungry for the Spirit. They're hungry for the worship. They're hungry for that connection. And we talked about it in our men's group, too, how amazing it is to see these kids. And they can teach us as adults, because they have no qualms about lifting hands or bowing knees or whatever it is. If they feel led to do it, they're going to do it. And that, helps keep us humble. But also, these kids, there's a lot of talent there to give an opportunity to learn how to not just lead worship, but play an instrument and be in front of people. I think it was Elf who said singing is easy. It's just like singing alone. You just do it in front of people, just like talking, but you sing in front of people. So it gives these kids an opportunity to have that role, and I would really like to see more instruments. I've brought in some drums and some shakers and some bongos and things like that. Just
my
to have
kids have played the drums with you.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No, I love
but I love it. I love getting the videos of them leading worship. I'm like, oh my God, my babies.
The way their eyes light up whenever they get to come up on,
so fun.
I could bring 20 different instruments and they'd still not be enough, But I try to give an opportunity to everybody and try to take a turn. But what I think is neat about that is it's so many facets of that, because now these kids are learning this stuff in Kid Depot, and then they're going to go to Ignite, and they're going to be used to leading that worship. They're going to be used to that engagement, used to being in front of people. Then they're going to go into Fusion. They're going to be more engaging there, and they're going to come to big church. And they're going to be we're starting them at their youth to understand what it is to worship, and whether it's part of the leading or part of the taking it in. It's a learned thing. So it's so cool to see those avenues open up, and again, with the talent, there's so many people around here that have the capacity and the ability to lead that over there and just do amazing at it and connect with these kids. I know Lee's been over there. Obviously, Eli's been over there. I think there's lots of opportunities for people to lead in that too. So
it's
super
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
And it really,
cool.
Back to what I said in the beginning, I don't work well with kids, but this kind of forced me to grow outside of my box. I wondered why the Lord was telling me you need to be in Kid Depot. I was like, I don't think you know what you're talking about. But he was right, and it's such a God thing. Jamie taught a lesson about God's always working downstream, and sure enough, here we are, and I feel so much fulfillment by being just a part of that. So cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it.
What I appreciate most about too, where all that, knowing where that comes from and where it, kind of how it all starts, and I mean, like, it wasn't a planned thing or like something you really desired or wanted, but to see you accept a opportunity that I know you would be like me, and I'm like not super thrilled about this, you know what I mean? But to see a need, accept an opportunity, and then not just like, for lack of a better term, do your time, go in and teach the lesson and do your time and get out.
Check a box.
But, and I think that's one of the things we are so blessed with here at Central is there are so many volunteers that it's not just like volunteer, you know what I mean? Like you could consider them staff people because they put that level of effort. You would think that they're getting paid to do it, you know, because they put so much time and energy in. And I think for me it's your involvement in Kid Depot is a lesson of like God taking a new season, kind of like, you know, closing the season for a bit, taking a new season, and you saying yes, and then not just saying yes, but then like, okay, how do I make the best, and how do I grow this and dive fully into this yes? And I mean, we literally saw the fruits of it at Recharge. I mean, just, you know, it's these kids are learning. It's one thing, and we talked about this even with the Kid Depot team. Like, it's one thing to go in there and do live music. Like, we could put live music on anywhere at any time. Right. You know what I mean? But it's another thing to put people in a position that can lead these kids in worship, because it's so much more than just singing or playing or, you know, and they need to be taught.
Right. And Amber and Ashton, like with what Eric is saying, Amber and Ashton, they always commend you for, you know, just like how you are able to teach the kids about it and like, as you are doing it, like in the process of it, like, and Good. And of course, like the Amra's K-2 director, Ashton's 3-5 director. So, I mean, they're teaching and whatever, but like, then like, those are their kids that they love so much, of course. And so then like for them, you know, to just know and see all that you are pouring into their students, you know, it's just like, even rewarding for them just to be able to watch it all take place in a class, you know, it's just super cool. Yeah.
I tell you, there's nothing better than hearing kids singing songs like "There's Joy in the House of the Lord," you know, and when it has that drop out and they're just all singing at the top of their lungs, you know, and I can see a difference in them when they have the live music compared to tracks. Yeah. They just have so much more connection, you know. And how many of these kids, well, even both of you, but definitely you, Brooke, I know for sure, came up through high school, and now you're in big church. You and Grace and Annie and JC and, you know, my sweet Bailey Ray, she's making her way up now too. She's singing with us. And, you know, it's so powerful to be able to see these kids worshiping the Lord, like full on worshiping the Lord. It's so cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
Emmer's son, he has a gift.
Oh, Colton is awesome.
I've heard him sing. He's played drums.
I say he's a drummer. Well, Lucas is a drummer.
Yeah, he's got a gift, and you know, this gives them an outlet. I don't know if they have anything at the schools. A lot of schools aren't teaching music these days, which is absolutely terrible. Right. But it gives them an outlet. It gives them a place to share their gifts, you know, and it helps, again, going back to what I said earlier about learning from people, it gives them a way to play with other people within the church who then grow together in their musicianship, and then they grow in their worship leading, and it's just one big happy circle. You know, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
We were talking the other day about some different things, and I mean, the more I got to thinking about it, the more I literally realized that, you know, had I not gotten involved in music at church, like I literally never would have probably picked up an instrument in my life. I mean, I was one of those people, like I didn't do choir or band, you know, or anything like that through high school. And had I not literally just knew that I could bang pencils on a desk pretty well, and that I just finally eventually was like, somebody said, "Hey, I think you could probably play the drums. You should try that." And then did it. But I mean, had church not been a part of that, like I never would have had a reason to sit down and play the drums, and nor honestly the desire or anybody pushing me and challenging me, or, you know, and so that it really is crazy to think. 'Cause I mean, I think about, obviously, like my whole world revolves around that now, and you know,
now you're a heck of a guitar player to boot.
Yeah, I mean, so just that capo is doing wonders.
You are a magician with the capo. It's amazing.
It is. It is. Shout out to Randy Poston, who hates the capo. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just I don't know, church fills so many different roles in our lives and stuff. And like you said, I mean, there are unfortunately, there's not a lot of schools that, you know, music is the days of, like you said, your grandparents setting up a stage on the side of a road and just everybody coming over and playing, like that never happens. Like A, your neighbors would be calling so angry, and B,
you'd have to file for permits.
Yeah, you'd have to get permits, and I mean, it would be a whole ordeal.
One thing I left out of my story, which I'll probably go ahead and throw in there, is I was in a band called Walk of Life, and it was me and Russ Wilt, Russ, and my cousin Nathan Wheeler. And it was the kind of band, it was a Christian rock band, and we actually made a CD and we recorded it. I've got it at home in a separate shrine in a different room.
How many rooms do you have?
Well, now that the kids are moving out, I'm setting up more shrines. But it was one of those bands where it was so typical. You're excited to go to every gig, but every time you get there, like, it's just family. You paid so much money and so much work to get there for nobody to show up. But you did anyway because it's fun to do. So.
We had a few of those.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We had a few of those. No, I mean, what would you say? I mean, I know you've touched on this a little bit, but I mean, what would you say? Like, how has music kind of shaped your life? In a way, like what is different in your life because of music and worship, et cetera, being a part of it?
Well, everything, because I'm such a musical family and music centered. My whole life revolves around music. Something we talked about earlier with a couple other people here is the hope we have in Jesus and eternity and salvation, compared to the people that don't have that hope.
Yeah.
And if you don't have Christianity in your life, if you're not a Christian, or if you're not a believer, even if you've not been baptized, you're still a believer, you can listen to these songs and they lift you up when you're at the bottom of a pit. They give you energy when you're feeling weak. They help, and it doesn't always have to be sad. Sometimes it's just rejoicing. To not have that, to go to, seems like such a shallow, hollow life to live. And where do you find hope in things if not through Christ? Where do you find strength if not through the cross? Where do you find forgiveness, if not through those songs and through that music that can completely change your outlook on life? It can completely change your outlook on yourself. There's so many great songs out there that tell such a great story and give so much empowerment to people just when they need it. And that's, ironically, that's where most of these songs come from. These people are in these places and they're writing from their heart, and that's where it comes from. So music has changed my life, or affects my life, because when I've been in those places, I have that to go to pick me up and to, give me hope again, or to celebrate with. Or, this past Easter service, these songs we sang are just so fun and so uplifting and so powerful. You could just, I don't know, I guess that's, to sum it up, that's where music changes my life, because it's something I can go to. I love secular music too. I do not like country music, but I love
Florida Georgia Line. You're a big Florida Georgia Line guy, right?
Oh my gosh! Ironically, in Nashville, downtown Nashville, the Florida Georgia Line bar or club or whatever is right across the street from Johnny Cash. And the Johnny Cash Museum and the Johnny Cash Bar, which Brendan is actually runs sound at the Johnny Cash. But it's so ironic to me that kind of trash music would be right across the street from such a legend. It's just it's so terrible.
Money can buy you a lot of things.
Sure can. Yeah. When you were talking about the checklist of some you don't want worship leaders to be writing off a checklist. I mean, that is country music to a T. You got something about a truck, which is actually the name of a country song. Something about a truck. something about a dog, and then a woman has to be in there somehow too.
Yeah, and usually she's angry.
She's angry about something. Yeah,
or they're like obsessed with her. So I mean, it could go both ways.
Well, most love songs are all about obsession. They're usually dark in some way if you get into the root of it. Yeah.
Wow. That's so funny.
Donnie, we appreciate you.
Guys, I cannot thank you enough. This is so exciting. I'm so glad.
Yeah, you might be a return guest.
This will definitely go down in my list of
dreams, goals, and
goals, and absolute.
Oh, we've got to work on that list.
If this is like I said, it's about contentment. So anything outside of that is raising the bar.
No, but I mean, it is. One of our goals as we go along this is, we want to let you guys into, just kind of the background of a lot of our volunteers, because I'm sure everybody would say this about the ministries that they lead, but I mean, like, seriously, our creative arts ministry and those volunteers that are in that, not only is it really one big, I mean, like, we'll refer to it as a family a lot, but like, it really is, I mean, just a family atmosphere. And we spend so much time together, and obviously there's a special bond that happens, just through playing music together and worshiping together in general, and again, all the time that you spend, but like, our volunteers, they put in, I mean, so much time and energy and effort. I mean, like, I think about, our Easter, anybody who is involved in Easter, whether you're choir or whether, whatever, in media team. I mean, literally it was like 5 rehearsals, and then,
so much time.
And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And to keep that energy up. Yeah. That is, without a doubt, that is a true sign that the Holy Spirit is in it, because there's not a person up there that has just some flat, bored look or, oh my gosh, I got to sing this again. Everybody up there is like, we get to do this again. And when it's over with,
we're like,
let's do it one more. Why not?
Encore.
Yeah. Who cares if there's anybody here? We'll just do it for us.
Yeah.
But that's, we want to give you the insight into those, volunteers, because they are, I mean, like Donnie said, I mean, gosh, so much talent. So much wisdom, so much life experience, and just so much worship leading experience, because that's something that we've talked about on here, and we talk about as a team almost every weekend. Whether you're in our youth choir or whether you're hitting space bar so that we know what words to sing on the back, like, everybody is a worship leader if you're on our team and you accept that responsibility and you step into that role. And so and I'm just thankful, I know Brooke's thankful that, we get to serve alongside a team that all is bought into that and understands that responsibility. I mean, just like Donnie said himself, like, he is a worship leader. That it's not a title on a website somewhere, but like, whether he steps on stage with a bass or a mic, like, that is the role and the mindset that he steps into it with, which I so appreciate, and all of our people step into it with that mindset. And that makes all the difference. And so as we go, we'll bring on other people and other volunteers for you to get to hear their stories. And there's also something cool about just like knowing who's leading you in worship.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like on our last podcast, we talked a little bit about knowing kind of who you're leading, and you kind of know when you're not leading the people you're normally leading, but at the same time, like, also knowing the people that are leading you is important. And so hopefully,
so now when people come and they see me singing, they're going to be thinking, oh my gosh, is he going to pass out? Yeah.
They're going to be waiting for
you. Oh, he's going down.
Have you ever passed out at Central? On stage?
Because that would make number 2 of WSIL passing out.
That's true. Well, there's another goal. Yeah. I don't think that I have. I know I came very close playing with John. Yeah. Very close. Like, you start to get a little dry mouth, and then you start to see some little sparkles.
Okay, all this sounds familiar. I'm scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see sparkles, and then once you hear echoes, like things start echoing, you're past
out.
It. That's it. You're going down. There's nothing you can do.
See, I feel like every Sunday I get a little lightheaded and see some things. I mean, I'm nervous every weekend. So
Brooke walks into my office pretty much about, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes before we're supposed to go on, and she has the look on her face, and then she just looks at me in the eye and she goes, I'm going to throw up. She never does. She has not yet, but that's every week.
I mean, it's really, like normal weekends, I'm so much better, but it still happens, especially like if I know like my quote unquote assignment, like whatever I'm like to lead like a certain song, certain songs make me more nervous than others or whatever. But like Christmas and Easter, my first Christmas and my first Easter, as staff at Central, Eric put me through the ringer, and both times, it just so happens that I was blessed with the opportunity to open up both services, and I was just sick.
Yeah.
I was just absolutely sick. And people think I'm crazy or that I'm lying. Like, they're like, what? Oh my gosh, whatever. But no, seriously, every Easter service, I just like look at Eric like, oh my gosh, A, I can't believe you made me do this. And B, like, I'm literally going to vomit. Like,
well, let me give you a little tip. This is something that I've told my kids growing up, and I've told another friend of ours here on the team. But there's so much blessing in failure when you're as a worship leader.
Wow, what a relief.
There is. So if you're worried about failing on a song, which I've done it countless times, all that does is show the people that are out in the congregation that we are human. Yeah. That they can come up here and they can lead worship with us. They can be in the choir. They can play an instrument. Yeah. It's not about perfection.
Right.
It's about giving your best. It's about putting that time into practice 30 minutes before you come to rehearsal. But
the car right here.
Yeah. Edit that out.
Yeah. But it's about the sacrifice. Worship is sacrifice. I think you talked about this in one of your podcasts too, about what is worship, and it needs to be a sacrifice of yourself. And for you, maybe that sacrifice is putting yourself out there in a vulnerable position.
No, that's literally it. Yeah. So uncomfortable.
You have no reason to be uncomfortable. You have a beautiful voice, don't ever think anything otherwise.
I mean, John told me, he was like, wow, Brooke, yeah, seriously, like, that song, seriously, like, just so good, just right in your wheelhouse. And I said, I have a wheelhouse? Yeah. Anyways, I mean, it keeps me humble, sure, but I mean, like, it's like uncontrollable. I literally can't even help it. I'm just this way. Yeah. It's just, I don't think it'll ever go away, but. Yeah.
Well, just for anybody listening, and for both of you, I would tell you, if you see sparkles, sit down right then. I don't care what you're doing, sit down. Because if the echoes come, you're going down. You're going down hard.
Warn the people around you.
Yeah.
I just end up crisscross applesauce in the middle. Eric probably wouldn't think anything of it, actually. And then he would be more just like not surprised before he's ever alarmed and needs to help me.
Yeah.
Like if he looks over and I'm just sitting down, he's probably like, oh, she's just, with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And, we need a signal of like, no, I'm not with the Holy Spirit. I'm about to be like unconscious.
Yeah. Well, especially because there's been multiple times I walk in Brooke's office and she's just laying in the floor, and I'm like,
give her a kick.
Yeah,
are you okay?
What are we doing?
Or like I remember the KEPT conference, like I was just like on my face, like I'm on stage in the middle, whatever, and you're behind a big wall, and then like the talkbacks in our ears, like as we're like going through things without click or whatever, and like I don't remember who you were asking, maybe it was Peyton or something, I don't know, and then you were like, because you were playing behind this wall, and you were like something about like I'm not sure like what is Brooke doing, and Peyton comes back on the topic, well, her face is on the floor right now, and I mean I'm just weeping like Holy Spirit's like so thick in the room, but it's just.
I think I've actually said it to Melanie. I've seen Lee drop to her knees in worship, and I said she's about to pass out.
Yeah. But the good kind.
Sparkles.
Well, speaking of sparkles, Donnie, you light up our life.
Well, thank you.
Seriously, you're such a light to our team.
Well, thank you.
You're such a light to really every ministry that you are plugged in and a part of it that you serve so obediently and so well and so faithfully, and we are blessed to know you. I can say like just being like brought up in the worship ministry, like you've always been there. Like I've never known worship ministry even as a high school pup without Donnie.
Well, I hope to be here
so thankful for you
many more years, and I feel like
in Jesus' name you will be.
I'm progressing into the 8:00. They're getting more and more of me at the 8:00 service, so I'm going to be.
You got to give the people what they want.
With Kev,
give the people.
They write it on their prayer cards. Bring back Donnie.
Well, that works for me. I love that type of music.
That's awesome.
I love it.
No, it's good. Yeah, we appreciate you taking some time to come hang out with us. I said Donnie's not only a great friend, but he's a great encourager, and he has been for Brooke and I. It's this is it's been quite the transition in our church for all of us, and Donnie has been one of those people that has gone out of his way above and beyond to not only encourage me but Brooke as well, and so. Publicly, we say thank you for that.
We love you.
Nothing says I love you like a case of Lay's potato chips.
Yeah. That's right. That's the best gift I've ever been given.
Well, this has been a great episode.
Probably the longest one to date, but like the best one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
No, No, it was awesome.
I'm long-winded sometimes.
Yeah, hey, but you're with two other long-winded people.
So we could go all night.
Yeah, they can exit and they can leave the app, the podcast app, anytime they want. You know, we're having a good time.
We appreciate you listening. Of course, we always want you to remind you to hit that like, follow, and share button on there as well. And we're looking forward to more episodes of the Praise Podcast coming your way. We appreciate you listening. Donnie, thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you so much
for
you guys are awesome.
The Brooke Paninsky. I'm Eric. It's always been fun hanging out with you. This has been another Praise Podcast. As always, we want to be people that in every day and every way bring the praise. We'll see you next time.